So Nick, obviously I know you well because you run PartnerWise franchising and you therefore have a lot of experience in helping people to franchise.
Yep.
So for those who don't know a lot about it, franchising, can you just run us through what is franchising? What is it about?
The big question. Okay, so franchising is where you have a brand owner who's got the brand and the know-how, who grows their brand through replicating that with franchisees. So people that have a license to use their brand, their know-how, their systems, their processes, and hopefully gather scale at pace. So the benefit from a franchisor's point of view is that, hey, I've got a brand that I'm going to grow through someone else's CapEx and OpEx, but I'm going to be protected by the fact that I've got systems and processes and legal agreements in place. And the benefit for the franchisee is that they have suddenly got a well-known brand that hopefully has got customer traction and loyalty, and a system and process that allows them to scale their business a lot quicker than they ever could if they went and set up their own similar-ish copy brand, and hopefully grow a larger network throughout the country.
And from the franchisor's perspective, can you just talk us through how that works from a brand presence point of view? In terms of if I was going to grow a business,
yeah,
and getting recognition of my brand was important, trying to get there quickly, how does franchising help that specifically in terms of getting my brand out there?
So if you've got a known and trusted brand, you're going to protect that by the agreements that we'll have in place, and I'm sure we'll come on to, and you will have the... What are you trying to go to with this question?
Well, I was just thinking about how how the use of a brand through franchising, can it give you quicker growth and quicker brand recognition than it would if you were just trying to develop your own chain?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you've got your own brand and you're trying to roll it out through your own resources, both from a people point of view and a finances point of view, obviously there's a limit to what that scale is going to be. So if you can franchise it, so if you can get the systems and processes in there that allows you to cookie cut is maybe the wrong description, but allows you to give someone the understanding and the knowledge and the standards to which they have to run that business, and then you're growing through the franchisees CapEx and people and local knowledge, etc. Absolutely, you're going to be able to grow that brand a lot quicker than you could if you're just trying to do it yourself or with a lot less overhead.
And then from a franchisee's point of view, now if I was thinking of starting up a business, you read that 80% or whatever it is of businesses that people start up fail within their first year or something like that. Is franchising then an attractive thing for me to look at in terms of, is it better for me to buy into a franchise than it is?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's two sides to that. So one, I mean, the banks will quite often mention that the failure rate of franchisees is less than 1%, and as you say, it's a lot higher if they try to do it themselves. But also, they're not in it on their own. So if a franchisee, especially if they're maybe new to business, if they're coming in, growing the franchisor's brand, but their business, and that's probably a good way of thinking about it. It's franchisor's brand, franchisee's business. Then absolutely, they've got all the learnings, all the mistakes have been made before them. So they've got all the learnings, the systems, the processes to allow them to be as successful as possible, and probably just lean on their strengths to run a good business, hire great people, motivate people, and grow hopefully to multiple units if that's what they wish.
So from a franchisor's perspective, if I'm developing a new brand, for example, is it a method for me to get rich quick? Can I charge big fees and then become a millionaire overnight?
No. So you're probably looking at the fact that you will be taking less than you ever would if you were the owner of said unit or location. But what you're hopefully going to do is expand a lot quicker. So you're taking a lot smaller amount of the gain, if you like, in each area. So it's not a get rich quick scheme, but it is a very much hopefully a get your brand out quicker than you could if you're just doing it yourself.
If I'm a franchisor and I'm thinking I'm going to launch my own franchise, I know there's an initial fee. I know that there should be some ongoing fees I charge once a month. How do I come up? Is there a standard that I charge, or can I just make up what the fee structure is based on whatever I think?
No, absolutely not. Not your roles.
Okay.
So It's one of the things that we do as a business. So we would look at, okay, what are all the things that need to be included to get that franchisee into life as being a franchisee. So that initial franchise fee, and you mentioned there's a few other fees as well, but that initial franchise fee would be made up of the things that they need, such as training, such as marketing support, launch marketing support, such as onboarding, setting up on systems, part of the website, whatever it might be. And they'll normally be able to give a breakdown so you understand what is included in your fee. And so for service contracts, it might be things like tools and equipment that are needed to do the job. So that should get you to a place of being ready to launch the franchisee. But that fee is determined by what things need to be included to get you to there. And you shouldn't be making money on your franchise fee. You make money in life when you're doing your through your royalty.
Okay, all right. And then what does it cost to set up a franchise?
Oh, that's a great question. It can be very open-ended. So one of the bits that we've talked about there in terms of the fees that or the things that need covering or need to be charged for when you're the franchisor, when you're bringing in a franchisee. But then there's obviously other things like the legal agreements that they'll need to put in, the operations manual. Is that something that you've got currently, or is that something that actually needs to be more formalised? There'll be a cost doing that. There'll be a cost of recruiting your franchisees. How are you attracting those franchisees? So you need a franchise website as well as your customer facing website. Yeah. So there's quite a lot of things that need to be taken into account that obviously you need to cover as being the franchisor, and you might take a hit on some of those things, for the greater good of wanting to expand your brand. But absolutely, but you need to have a good understanding, and that's one of the things we do right at the very beginning with a potential franchisor is, okay, these are all the things that you will need to do to be a franchise, and these are all the rough associated costs that come with it. So you're making an educated decision before you start going down the route of setting up a franchise and realising it's costing you a lot more than you necessarily had funds for.
Hence the benefit with working with a consultant like you guys, who've already been through that journey several times with other clients, so that you know how to put together a set of figures that's realistic and reality-based.
Yeah. One of the things we do is we look at creating a franchisor and franchisee P&L, so it needs to be viable for both sides. Yeah. So they'll hopefully have one or two units that they're already trading in, so we can get a good understanding of that. And weirdly, when you look at those P&Ls, there's actually, you can get economies of scale and simplicity through a franchise setup. So actually a franchisee's business can be leaner than the franchisor because they might not have to carry some of the overhead costs that a franchisor has to carry. But it is important to look at that right at the very beginning, so you know what you're getting into.
I mean, in terms of the franchise agreement, the cost of putting the franchise agreement together, often you hear people saying, oh, can't I just write one myself, or I've copied one that a friend's given me. And the reason that I always push back on that, and any sensible franchise lawyer is going to push back on that, is every agreement has to be done for the specific business in mind. I mean, obviously there is always a common theme. The common theme is in the legal agreement, essentially you are protecting your brand. You're protecting the use of your trademark. You're making sure that no damage is done to your trademark or no damage is done to your reputation. But you're also controlling the way in which the franchisee can use the brand so that it is consistent. Because, of course, the value in a franchise business lies in the consistent rollout of the business. Hence why you need a legal agreement, and hence why it has to reflect the realities of your particular business. That is always one cost that has to be added into it. But like you say, I suppose if you're doing it, it's a game for the long term rather than the short term.
And it's funny, people quite often say, oh, I'm giving away my brand. But your brand's actually more protected through your franchise agreement than it probably is with a manager 200 miles away that's running one of your stores or units. And they might leave very quickly, whereas your franchisees probably are going to stay longer than an employee would ever stay, and you're a lot more protected. So that's something I try to put to bed quite early through one, the systems and processes, but two, absolutely the legal agreement. Yeah,
because your franchisee is invested financially and emotionally. They're invested in that business for the long term. I've
seen many times where we've taken corporate stores in different industries and made them franchised. So franchisees come in and taken over, and it's been the same brand, the same location, the same team, and we've seen huge uplifts in performance. And it's absolutely down to that. You've got someone who's absolutely invested financially, as well as time, etc., into making that work. And as a result, those businesses exceed.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nick.